9 huge home and away spoilers for next week. What's next in Summer Bay? Coming up on Home and Away, Cash and Tane face a tragic time following Felicity's collapse. As Summer Bay loses a beloved resident, Levi learns Abigail has been up to no good, while Dana steps up and Kirby takes matters into her own hands. 1. Felicity's loved ones hear her devastating diagnosis. Everyone rushes to the hospital, terrified for Felicity after she collapsed at Salt. Bree explains that Felicity has been taken into surgery, as she's had a brain aneurysm. Cash asks Bree if Felicity is going to die, and Bree says it's a possibility. Even if she does survive, she could have irreversible brain damage. Later, Bree announces that Felicity is in recovery after her surgery and warns Cash and Eden not to be alarmed by the sight of her. Felicity is sedated, strapped to the bed, intubated and hooked to all kinds of machines. Cash is devastated, while Tane heads home, telling a concerned Mac and Levi that he feels he doesn't belong at the hospital. He insists that it's too hard to watch the woman he still loves like that and not being a part of it. However, Tane soon finds the strength to go back to the hospital, just as Felicity takes a turn for the worse. 2. Cash is in denial. The medical team step in as Bree gives panicked orders, and an overwhelmed Cash bumps into Tane outside, where he breaks down. Levi assists Bree and tests Felicity for any signs of flexion, but there's no response. Bree informs Cash and Eden that Felicity has had a second bleed, and this time, it can't be fixed with surgery. There are indications that this has resulted in brain death, and neurological assessments must be carried out by another doctor in this case. Bree and Levi conduct the first series of tests, but there's still no response. Cash is devastated, insisting they can't give up on his sister and there's no getting through to him. While Cash is out of the room, Levi quietly tells the others that Felicity is clinically dead. Cash watches the doctors perform a second set of tests, and they turn off the ventilator to see if this elicits any reaction. Cash begs Felicity to take a breath, but nothing happens. A tearful Cash steps out, but when Bree tries to speak with him about turning off Felicity's life support, Cash refuses. 3. Levi searches for thieving Abigail. Levi overhears John making a police report to Rose over some petty cash that's been stolen from his office. Levi immediately thinks of his younger sister Abigail, who is still nowhere to be found after paying a brief visit to the Bay for Eden's engagement party. Levi calls Abigail and demands she return the cash if she was the one who stole it. Rose walks up behind Levi and asks if everything's okay, and Levi considers whether or not to rat out his little sister. Later, he gets a text from Abigail, who is indeed guilty of theft. Abigail cheekily suggests there's no way her brother would dob her in, and an exasperated Levi uses his credit card to pay John back. Levi reasons that now John has the right amount back, Rose won't need to investigate further. Mac encourages Levi to look for Abigail in the city, and he gets ready for a drive to search for his pesky little sister. 4. Mackenzie struggles to cope. Mac has barely processed Felicity's situation as she heads to work. While rushing around Salt, Mac opens the fridge to look for the champagne. She finds it empty, apart from a cheeky note from Felicity, telling Mac that they've used all the champagne for Cash's engagement party. This is all it takes for Mac to fall apart, and as she cries in Levi's arms, it finally hits her that Felicity is gone. Mac regrets all the time she spent fighting with Felicity, and confides her worries about having to run Salt all by herself. What's Mac going to do without Felicity? 5. Kirby encourages Marley to pursue his passion. At Marley's surf shop, Kirby picks up something as it falls to the ground. It's artwork that Marley has drawn, and it's very different from his usual style. Kirby is impressed, but an embarrassed Marley brushes her off, saying he was planning to chuck it out. Kirby insists he should do something with it, and with Marley still hesitant to pursue this side of his art, Kirby gifts him a blank canvas and some art supplies. Left alone, Marley picks up the brush and starts painting and proudly shows Kirby his finished painting, which is incredible. He thanks Kirby for pushing him out of his comfort zone, and Kirby explains there's an art competition looking for submissions. The grand prize is $15, and Kirby has already filled in most of the entry form for Marley. Marley makes excuses. It's not his thing. He's not in this for the money, and they're just losing a dear friend following the tragic news about Felicity. 6. Perry issues Tane some wise words. Tane tries to jump back into normal life, but it's doing him more harm than good. He is overwhelmed with grief and fury, and a concerned Harper gently asks if he's considered grief counseling, but he brushes it off. Memories of his time with Felicity haunt Tane everywhere he goes, including an intense memory of Felicity confessing her love for him by the lighthouse. This interrupts his conversation with a confused and hurt Perry, who, unaware of what Tane is feeling, blames himself. Harper tells Perry that Felicity was the love of Tane's life. Having lost his own mother, Perry tells Tane he understands what he's going through, advising Tane that he needs to say goodbye or he'll regret it. 7. Dana supports Harper at her ultrasound scan. Dana rushes to see an overwhelmed and broken Harper. It turns out that Harper's ultrasound is scheduled for today, and she thought she would be okay on her own. However, with all that's happened, and Tane wrapped up in grief and still unaware he's going to be a father, it's all too much for Harper. Dana steps in, promising that she'll be there to support her sister. Dana takes Harper's hand, and together they go to meet Harper's baby. 8. Felicity passes away in hospital. Tane makes a final visit to the hospital to see Felicity, where Cash remains at her bedside. There's no chance she'll open her eyes again, but Cash isn't ready for this and is still refusing to turn off her life support. Tane puts an arm around the other man's shoulders, and with tears in both their eyes, they accept that it's time. Bree tells them it's time to make a decision and asks if Felicity ever mentioned organ donation. Cash and Tane are confused but can't recall any such conversation. Cash thinks about it, he's losing his sister, but with his consent, someone else could keep theirs. Cash gives Bree permission for the surgery to go ahead, and together with Tane, Eden and the hospital staff, they wheel Felicity to the operating room in a procession, saying goodbye one last time. 9. Tane marks Felicity's death with a moving ceremonial dance. The morning after Felicity's death, Tane performs a haka, alone in the morning sun. He channels all his overwhelming emotions into the ritual, all the grief, rage and hurt before collapsing onto his knees on the grass. Perry watches from a distance, wondering if Tane is going to be okay.
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của Home and Away Spoiler Today. Xin chào.